We are recording. So welcome everyone to this special HSGS session with the Plastic Soldier Company. We have 3 reps from PSC today, and I'd like to introduce all 3 of them with you, and then we'll get going. So, Will Townsend, first of all, welcome that you could be here. Thanks for joining.
Hi.
You want to give a little bit of an introduction about yourself?
Oh, crikey. Thank you for having us on. It's a real shame that we can't be there live, that side of the pond. It was going to be our first year at Historicon, so it's a real shame. So maybe next year. I'm the owner and founder of the Plastic Soldier Company. We've been going for 11 years now. Been building steadily in our 11 years. Started out and have been focused on World War II, but we're beginning to branch out into other areas, other parts of history, and yes, we're broadening our offering to the tabletop market. We've also been foraying is that a word? Foraying into board games as well, obviously linked with our military theme and our wargaming theme. But yes, trying to produce and bring nice wargaming products to the masses.
Well, we're delighted that you could have it here. Sorry again for the circumstances that you can't be traveling, but
yes, a shame.
That is the way it goes. Okay, and then our next esteemed guest is Simon Hall. Simon, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, yes, I'm a wargamer of 40-odd years and travel the world playing all sorts of wargaming. I'm the author of Mortem et Gloriam. I've known Will quite a few years, and he very kindly asked me to come on board to publish the 2nd edition of the rules and other rules going forward. So here on the basis of that, and I was due to be over as well for my 3rd Historicon, but I'll make it my 3rd Historicon next year for sure. So don't worry, you'll definitely see me over there.
Fantastic. Definitely looking forward to see you in person, but for today, hey, this is good too. And last but not least, we got Piers Brand. Piers, you want to introduce yourself?
Do I have to? Oh God!
I know it's a small.
We all know you.
NSA, my reputation precedes me. Yeah, no, I do. I'm the general dog's body of Battlegroup and Northag, so I do little bits here and there and run the groups. So a lot of people know me from the groups and from podcasts that I do. So I kind of the online face of Battlegroup and Northag most of the time, answering questions and
he's hiding his
stuff like that.
He's hiding his light under a bushel. He's been instrumental all the way from the start with Warwick and I in Battlegroup. So he's underplaying it, bless him.
It is. Guys, I can't believe it's 11 years, but there you go.
Yeah, I think we've been doing Battlegroup 9 of those 11.
Yeah, 2012.
Feels like 19.
2013, something like that. So yeah,
yes.
It's been a long, long road.
Long and winding road.
Yeah, but it's nice for me as a sort of. I have a real job in the real world, so doing stuff like this is really nice to have a hobby that I can sort of actually do something with rather than just playing. I can actually be on the other side. So it's been a really nice experience for me. So yeah, there you go.
Yes. Well, as I say, you've been a real valuable member of the team, and you've helped write, you've helped develop playtests. It's the triumvirate.
Yeah. I'm also the one that does this break stuff as well. So that's pretty much my role with rules. Is I try and break them, and then, but then not fix them. So
hand them back broken in pieces.
Yeah, exactly. just hand it
Sorry.
back. Yeah. I don't know how to fix it. I am the oddball. I just I don't know how the tank works. I just ride them.
Well, it's good to have a reputation for something, right? Well, thanks, Piers, for being here. Okay, so we have 6 things on the agenda for today, if I count counted all right. I guess lastly, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Tom Gall. I'm one of the writers at No Dice, No Glory, longtime gamer, a bit of a Battlegroup and North Hague fan, but we won't go there. And so to kind of take us through each one of the 6 sections, what we're going to do is we're kind of going to go through it piece by piece. For those of you who are here and tuned in, please, if you have a question, go ahead and write it into the chat channel. We're going to intersperse the questions as we go through each and in every piece. So let me go ahead and put up the slides. So hopefully everybody can see that.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Fantastic. So, Will, you want to take it away?
Yeah. So we're just going to use this as a rough guide and chat around it as we go. But if you could flick on to the next page, I'm going to start talking about our new ranges of plastic, our new tech, our new plastic tech. And then I'm going to hand off mainly to Simon and Piers to talk about the 2 new rule systems that we've just launched and the plans we've got for those, as well as the plans with the current ranges that we offer. The big news for us is this new plastic tech system, which we've been pioneering here in the UK from a Spanish company, and we believe it's I don't think it's too strong a word to use, revolutionary plastic. We all know the types of plastic that we've had before in our hobby over the last 30-40 years. We got the Airfix soft plasticky bendy stuff that we're all very used to as we grew up on, and is still around in that there's all the various Revels and Italiaries and Svezdas and Airfix still with this very bendy 1/72 scale stuff, and then we've got the hard plastic that kits are made out of, vehicles are made out of, and when we started 11 years ago, we wanted to push forward that hard plastic for figures. And our very first set that we launched 11 years ago was a 1/72 20mm Russians in hard plastic, and you could change some of there was head variability, and you can change the poses, and that was riding on that sort of wave that was starting at the time with Perry's and Victrix, and it was that the hard plastic drive with 28mm. I was sorry, you'll excuse, I tend to go off on tangents and stories and things, but when I first started, I was casting metal stuff in my shed. This was sort of 12-13 years ago, in the recession of 2000 and something, and was quite connected with the guys in the UK, with the guys at Victrix. I was selling the Valiant miniatures, if you guys remember those. There was a set, Colin Rumford, he was of Rapid Fire fame, and he produced a few sets with Julian from Victrix, and I was selling them, and I wanted to be in there. No one seemed to. No one wanted to do Russians. So I thought, well, let's start with Russians. Let's do a few sets and see how we go. So I was just started with some hard plastic miniatures, figures, and then the sort of vehicles grew from there. I was playing around with CAD design, and I'd been selling ready to roll resin vehicles. I'm not sure whether you guys had them in the US, but certainly if you were a UK 20mm World War II gamer, you would buy those. And again, Colin Rumford was linked in with that, and it was the English mafia there, and I thought, well, I could do this. I think, CAD design, you can do variable scales. 15mm Flames of War was really beginning to take off, and I thought, well, we could design in one scale, and then with clicks and tweaks, we could could do several scales out of one CAD design. So we moved into doing vehicle kits as well, which I hadn't planned to. So it was going to be a handful of almost fill-in figure sets that Valiant didn't want to do, didn't seem to want to do, and it kind of grew from there. And now, and very, very quickly, the vehicle side of things, we started with the 15mm T34, and then we did the 20mm T34, and then we started to race ahead. There was a huge demand. Flamers of War was still doing resin vehicles and tanks, and I think we sort of, you know, more by luck than judgment, I hit upon this well, actually 50mm plastic vehicle kits, World War II, there's a big market for it. And it was great because we would do one design and we got into this groove of it didn't take much to upscale from 15mm to 20mm. Anyway, stop me if I'm gone totally off piste and just telling stories. So we've been hard plastic based for 11 years. Minis, vehicle sets, you know, vehicle construction kits. Now, doing hard plastics, it's not cheap. The price has come down a bit over the last 10, 15, 20 years. You know, high-speed milling, CAD design, you know, it shortened the length of time to produce a plastic kit, you know, or a plastic box of soldiers. But it's still not cheap. The big steel tools, they take a while to mill, they cost a lot, they're pricey. So that obviously has a natural break then on what you can do in hard plastic, because you need volume. You know, you need to sell a lot to justify design cost and tool cost. So we've now got 110 kits, ranged across 50mm scale, 20mm scale, brief foray into 28 way back when we tried to do the Russians in 15mm, 20mm and 28mm. And then we realized that actually it's let's leave the 28mm to the bolt actions and the Rubicons. Let's focus on 20mm and 15. You know, 2 scales is quite a lot to be doing. Anyway, so we've got 110, I think it is, kits in our catalog. That's a lot. And we've also, the ethos has been from the start is let's have as many options on a frame in a box. So other kit companies, for a Panzer IV or Panzer III, they'll have 5 or 6 kits, you know, the Panzer IIIG, the Panzer IIIF, the Panzer. We decided to put as many as we could into a box. The 110 kits actually covers probably 200 odd variant types. Very proud of our Opal Blitz. Piers, do you remember our lovely Opal Blitz kits? Where we had the Maltier. I started off, do you remember this? I wanted to have a Mercedes cab, a 4 cab. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we were going to have about 4 cabs, I think, wasn't it?
We were going to have 4 cabs, 17 wheelbases. It was going to be the kit to end all kits. Yeah. But after a while in the design process, we realized that was going to be a bit silly. But still, we managed to get the Maltier, and we got like 2 cab versions on there. The Maltier, we got the open top. So yeah, the ethos is let's try and get as many variants on a frame, which I've always found funny that there have been certain customers that don't like that. it sort of goes against the ethos. I've got spare parts, but I can't use. Put them in your spares box. You know, you're getting more bang for your buck. But some people just
and then
they don't like it.
And then there are those people who come along and then they'll try to magnetize all the various little bits so they can flip it out and turn it in from one variant to another variant.
Yes. I mean,
I managed to use all the pieces anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, I am that guy, Tom Gall.
What I
I remember the first kit, and it was God, it seems such a long time ago now. With the T34, was okay. Let's have the 2 turret options, so you can swap over the turret, do the normal whatever it was, 43, and then you could swap it over for the 76mm one, the later version. But anyway, so yeah, we have all these kits, all these variants in there. But there is a bit of a sort of a tree of fruit, and we've been obviously picked the low-hanging fruit way back, and we've been going up the tree and up the tree, and you start to get to a point where there's a commercial thing where I'm not running a charity. This is a business, so I can't be doing these things just to fill in the gaps, just because they have to pay their way. These tools have to pay their way back, over a certain period of time. So we're slightly getting to a stage of like, love to do that, but is it viable? And this new tech that's coming through was I think this could be something here, because again, also going back to 110 kits, we have a factory an hour and a half away from here, from us here. So we're UK based. We have a UK based factory that make for us. So it's all very close and this and that. But 110 kits, 110 tools, it's taking up a lot of space in the factory. Trying to keep 110 kits in stock all the time is very hard. If we were making these in China, it would be even harder, because you'd have to do those big print runs of kits, and they arrive on a container, and then they sell through. Then we've got a more reactive supply chain, because we've got a factory not that far away in the UK, but it's still difficult to keep everything in stock all the time. So this new tech is going to allow us to branch out of World War II. It's going to be we'll be in-house manufacturing with this. So our supply chain issues or things will be much easier. We can almost cast to demand, which is very, very useful. But as I say, it's what we're finding at the moment is it's fantastic. It's brilliant for figures, for the smaller scale figures, the 15 mil, 10 mil. It's perfect. So linking up with Simon, getting out of World War II and broadening our offering is fantastic. We're launching Simon's wonderful new, not new, it's been around for a while, but teaming up with Simon with his CCC system, with his Mortem et Gloriam rule sets, means that we can be launching miniature ranges to go with Meg, with Mortem et Gloriam, and Simon's other rule sets he's coming through, which we'll talk about in a minute. So Ultracast, our new plastic, it's got the best of all worlds. It's very robust, but there's a bit of boing, as you'll see from the video, and Piers throwing it out of the window and giving it to his dog to eat. So it has enough.
Gotta test it to destruction.
It has enough of that robustness, so that you're not going to have the broken tank barrels. You're not going to have broken piers, pikes or spears, broken piers. Yeah,
I've been broken for
he's
many
been broken for
Don't
years.
break your peers.
A Freudian slip. So it's very durable. It takes paint beautifully. It's not that sort of. Do you remember with Airfix? It's you had to give them a wash in soapy water, and then you would have to perhaps give them a sort of a watered down PVA glue, and then you'd paint it and you'd seal it, you'd varnish it, and you'd still get the paint flaking off as you paint
I think that's one of the things that surprised myself most about the Ultracast is what you can do with it from a painting point of view. And when Will started using it, we actually, I purposely tried to do paint stuff in the worst possible way. So that was without washing the sprues, without an undercoat, and literally just painting the colours straight onto the model. And it's so surprising how well just basic paints went on without undercoating, without any preparation at all. and how durable it is as well, which was the other surprise to me as somebody who isn't keen on plastic figures. It's very easy to paint, and the thing that it has a texture to it, which is, people who don't like plastics may understand this, but I always find hard plastics are very smooth for figures, so you have no texture that you have with metals. Ultracross brings that texture that you have with metals. There's like a resistance to it when you paint it, so you can feel how when you're painting, and that to me is a big deal, because I think it's the best of both worlds. So you have the detail and the texture of metals, but with the ease of a plastic.
Yeah.
I just to add, if I could add a bit on that as well. When Will and I were talking, I do the rule sets, but also for my sins liking metal figures, I have Lurkio miniatures as well, which the first of these are based on. And I've always been a huge fan of metal figures. I like the weight of them, and I like the way you can pull the spears back into position if they get bent, and I love the detail on them. But damn it, when we got some prototypes of these coming through Will's new tech, I had to sit there and go, these are better than my metal ones. It's almost annoying. The detail was actually better than we got out of the metal spins on the Masters of the Romans. It was quite startling, actually. And they take paint superbly. So there's some amazing versions of them now painted up, appearing on Facebook pages every day, and they're really superb. And I know, like a little like Piers, I've never been that keen on the other plastics. And there's somebody who plays a lot of the earlier periods. I do a lot of World War II battle, Napoleonic. I have so many plastics with broken bayonets or broken spears. I have entire ranks of hoplites with half spears, and it's infuriating. You paint them up and they're beautiful. They got all these lovely shields and they've got half a spear. And the minute you drop them, you're lucky if you've got one with their heads on. But honestly, these things, I painted up a few, and like Piers, I threw them up in the air with some metal ones just to see what happens with some old metal ones, and the metal ones get dented and the flakes off, and these bounce. It's just fantastic. Really, so it's very, very impressive new plastic and technology. And
the other thing is the weight as well, which I never really thought about until I lifted a case of my metal 10mm Soviet army, and then lifted a British Army of the Rhine and a Russian army of ultracast tanks, and maybe a little thing, but I tell you, it is different. It's another little string to its bow.
And good for both. Very good. I mean, I've just had some figures sent back from a painter, an overseas painter. It's cost next to nothing to send them back because they don't weigh anything.
Shall we go ahead and play the video so everybody can kind of see Ultracast in action?
Let's go for it.
Okay. So bear with me a second. Gotta switch to a different window.
You want me to do the poing sound effect?
You might have to.
A growling dog.
Here we go.
I love movies.
All right, here we ready. Drum roll, please.
Drop the lights. Go on, Piers, do it.
That didn't break.
And no flaking on the paint as well.
Yeah. Now imagine doing that with a metal one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard plastic with a snap, so you'd never get a metal one back in shape again.
Yeah. So you can see that for smaller scales, it's absolutely fantastic. You can get that crisp detail, but you're not going to have broken gun barrels, broken pikes, broken spears.
Yeah. So
here we go, Tom.
Right here, and you can see
even further. Look at that.
And it's just fine. There's no thing bending off at 90 degrees going, oh my gosh, come back. It's perfectly fine, as if nothing had happened.
Exactly. And with the ancient figures, you get the same. You don't break you can bend the spears and they don't break off. It's a big difference. So it's quite game changing, I think.
Yeah. And there's a painted one, the same thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Pretty cool.
You don't use normal plastic glue to glue the tracks and bits on. There's some assembly required, not much, but some. So it's not like a hard plastic kit where you use that poly cement that sort of melts the plastic slightly and is very easy to work with. You have to use super glue, but again, you've got some time to glue and to hold together. So
I mean,
it's
the
not a
tanks
big.
are, yeah, the tanks are only 4 parts anyway, aren't they? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you literally. I mean, I built a chieftain. I built 12 chieftains in, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe 10, 20 minutes. Just bang all the tracks on, job done. You know,
Yeah.
it's dead simple.
So one question from the audience is, describe the mold line experience. If you had, what was cleanup like?
Yeah, there's sometimes there's a little bit of a mold line, but it's no worse or no more than a metal figure. It's a sharp scalpel, just a sharp knife. You just scrape along, and it'll come away. It will clean up fine. Being frank, there's probably a little bit more cleanup needed than a hard plastic kit, but whereas you might have to be slightly fettling to get a hard plastic kit to get that thing to move into there and fit into there, and it's you're saving on, there's fewer parts on one of our ultracast models, but cleanup is fine. If you're used to just a little bit of cleanup for a metal figure or vehicle, it's the same.
I mean, it's no different than you'd spend on. Well, for me, it's no different than I'd spend on a metal or a hard plastic kit. The cleanup, and also I think it's worth mentioning though that it. I think PSC still has been in a learning curve to get these models out, and I think the mold lines will continue to get less and less. I mean, I think we'll agree. I remember the first test tanks we had quite a bit of flash, and the last ones I got last week, I didn't even bother taking the mold lines off because it wasn't worth it. So I think there's always that learning experience as well. But yeah, cleanup is the same as any other kit.
We've been
I would say it's even less. I mean, in my experience, there wasn't much to do at all.
Yeah. Good. Yes, we've had quite a long, steep learning curve, but my guys are there now. We're really pleased with it. So we think it's going to open up doors for us and for the hobby market. It's fantastic, and we're learning more each day. We're trying to push things along a bit. If anyone's seen the elephant from the Sassanid box, whew, we were pleased with that. So we're trying different things and different molding techniques, and how far can we push things. It's fantastic when you push it. Hey, that works. You try something else. Ooh. Yeah. So there's more goodness to come.
Cool. And so related to that question, another question from the audience is, will you go back and reissue some of your current kits in Ultracast?
Possibly. At the moment, we're extremely busy, very busy. We've got a lot to do and we've been focused on miniatures, on figures. And we feel we've pretty much cracked 15mm and 10mm figures. The way to design, the way to cast them. We are looking, and we plan to look a little more in the future as to whether we can produce or reproduce, or even, this is where I was saying about the hard plastic, the commercial realities of you need certain volumes to do a new kit, but there is the potential here that we can do other things that wouldn't be commercially viable in hard plastic with those expensive tools. We might be able to do those in CyberCast. Yeah. So let's just leave that nice and tantalizing that we are playing there. I mean, I think we can safely say certain things like guns and smaller kit, bikes. Also, we're more comfortable with the smaller scales. So 15mm and below, 15 and 10mm, we're very comfortable with at the moment.
I mean, we did do the 20mm. We did do a test on the 20mm DAC.
Oh yes,
And that was the one we put up online. Yeah, and we put that 20mm DAC up online with 2 metal ones from the same range, and asked people to guess. And the amount of people that guessed one of the metal ones was the plastic one. It was quite amusing because they were saying the details are appalling on that one, and I'm there going, but that's the metal one.
Yes.
So 20mm works, 15 and 10 certainly works, but I was particularly impressed with those 20mm.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest and to be frank, I have my doubts as to whether vehicles in the larger scales, in the 20mm stuff, I don't think we would ever be able to do a King Tiger in Ultracast. So, but maybe 15mm, 20mm Jeeps, bikes, guns, some armored cars, some of the soft skins. As well as the figures, the tests that we've done with DAC. We've done some tests with some Panzer Grenadiers, which came out beautifully. Yeah, so they're kind of there, but we've got a lot to do. We've got so much to do. But it's quite fun being a bit of a mad scientist and trying things. There is that. It is. It's fun being on the bench, and Steve and Dan and I were fiddling away with it. Can we push this? Can we do that? So yes, you'll see more goodness coming out.
Will's like figure creator and figure creator sweet shop at the moment.
Yes,
it's a bit of that.
It is a bit like it.
As we go through the journey, oh look, we can do these, and we can do these.
Yeah, he has a seriously bad case of ooh shiny syndrome, does that, Will?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The guys know me only too well, unfortunately. Yeah, I do. Yes, I'm like a 2-year-old with too much sugar and ADHD, so I have to be reined in a bit.
And a good thing too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Si.
Well, shall we move on to our next topic area, that being North Hague?
Mr. Brand, all yours.
Yeah, North Hague.
Yeah.
Well, it finally came out. For those that don't know, North Hague is it's a 10-15mm based Cold War game set in 1983, and it developed from Battlegroup, the World War II rules. That it's not the same set of rules because over its course of its development, it started off as a game that was much closer to the World War II system when it first started, and then it just didn't feel right, and it morphed into this sort of new set of rules that allowed us to go towards the 10mm side of things to give that sort of grander feel of the engagement, you know, because you've got tanks with big ranges, and it just felt better. So it took us a while, but we did the rules, we got them out, and they came out in May. They sold rather well, I like to think, and they've been pretty popular online. We have a good active Facebook group for it. We have the book itself comes as the rules and 2 army lists, so you have British Army of the Rhine and Soviets, and then we have the Ultracast models that go as starter sets for those 2 sides, and then obviously more bits and pieces. You've seen the little pouches that that your reinforcements come in. So you have this. North Hague really is the sort of first game that that has been like a sort of a attempted a sort of a complete package. So it's rules and miniatures with starter armies, and the rules themselves are. Then I wouldn't say they're not tournament rules as such, but they're fast playing, they're exciting. There's a point system you can use, or you can set up like little, well, I say historical encounters, but I suppose for a fictional war. But, you know, proper sort of scenario based games you can play. So you can have the best of both worlds with North Hague. And it has the same sort of chit system as Battlegroup, which is what sort of differentiates it from other games. Because in Battlegroup and in North Hague, you never really know how bad off your opponent is, and vice versa. So you have that element of surprise that always runs through the whole game.
Yeah, and as I remember right, it's roughly set around 1983, at least as far as kind of the hardware that you selected.
Exactly, yeah, and there's a little bit of background for it, but you know, you can go couple of years either side. There's a few little things in there. We've got the Stillbrew in there that didn't come out till about 85, and there's bits and pieces that don't fit that timeline. But the idea of that is that it allows people to play what they want to play. We just put in the suggestion of this is our background. This is how we see it, and here are the army lists. And the idea of that is it's purely there as a narrative background that allows us to then expand from that.
I must say that I think you and Warwick did a really good job on this, and it's not just taking the World War II rules that everyone knows and loves, Battlegroup, and just pasting a Cold War theme on it. It was, I think, you and Warwick thought it through very well.
It started as that. It started as a much more an attempt at just taking the World War II rules and thinking, we'll somehow inject the flavour. But it didn't work. So we literally just scrapped a year's worth of work and went at it from a completely different angle. There's, anybody that plays Battlegroup will easily pick up Northag, but they'll also notice the little things that are different, And those little differences, I think, have brought in that sort of feel of the period in a way that if we just use Battlegroup as it was, it wouldn't have worked. So Northag is very much its own game with its own narrative and its own feel. And I like to think it reflects that period quite well. As a NATO player, you always feel up against it. And as a Soviet player, you may have lots of stuff, but you always have that fear of the lack of command and control in your army. So it's two very different armies that work in very different ways, but work together to give you that sort of period feel. So
Definitely.
And then there's little elements in there, like you've got some electronic warfare that's built into the game, and
it's all those little sort of nuggets of flavor. So you have things like that, like countermeasures, electronic countermeasures. You have the little radar guidance for artillery. It all stems from a philosophy in Battlegroup where we always wanted it. If you've got the model for it, we wanted it to actually do something.
Yeah.
It's a gamey thing, but if you're going to buy your model, I want it to do something on the table. So we have all those little extra command vehicles and the sort of the recce stuff. It's all in there, and it all has something to do within the rules.
Spetsnaz.
Exactly. Yeah. who lurk in a Land Rover making tea. But yeah,
Luaz.
It's all those little bits and pieces that give it that flavour and give it that distinctive feel from making it different from World War II and from Battlegroup, which it is nice because it means it's its own game, and it kind of doesn't ride on the coattails of Battlegroup as such. It's made a name for itself, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see it's brought in a whole load of new people that don't play Battlegroup, rather than it just being Battlegroup players that go into it. There's an awful lot of new blood has come into it, so that's been quite interesting to see.
I saw Jason Visa has asked when Sentag's out, Piers.
Is he? Good.
Next Tuesday.
Getting right on that, are you?
Thanks, Jason.
I can talk about what might be in it rather than when it's going to be out. I'll let you decide when it's going to be out. I'll throw that one back at you. But
next year.
Yeah, next year. Sentag, for those that possibly don't know, but if you play Northag, you've probably already badgered me about Sentag about 50 million times. Sentag is going to be the second book, so it's not just going to focus on the central front. It's going to be like an army list book. It's going to be like a sort of bumper compendium of all the other good bits. So it will have NATO armies, it will have the Americans, it will have East Germans, it will have all the bits that aren't in the main rulebook. It will have all the other army lists for them. I won't say exactly what armies will be in there because as always, it's a theme with us that we'll have loads of stuff and we'll write it all and then go to put it in the book and go, ooh, that's rather a lot of pages. So stuff will always get left out. But we're going to try and cover as many of the NATO forces as we can. West Germans. I'd love to say we'll have Dutch, Danes, Belgians in there.
We won't have much. I mean, it sounds bigger than it really is in terms of in terms of models. Your writing effort's going to be quite big, you and Piers, but you and Warwick, but we've got pretty much all the Soviet stuff done, all the tanks and figures and stuff. So the US will be quite easy to do, M6s, M113s, and the figures. But then of course all the NATO stuff, the sharing Leopards and M113s. Generic infantry uniform stuff. So there's not it's going to be it should be quite an easy, quick thing to do, to be able to get those ranges, plugged in. West Germans will be
there's a lot of crossover between the NATO armies. It's from the rule side, it's more us thinking about how we do those NATO lists, because we want to fit as much as we can within the confines of the book size that we can have. And it's something like I'd love to put a Swedish list in the game purely because I just want an S tank in 10 mil.
Don't we all?
I'm with you.
Yeah, just because why not? But and obviously there's other things that I'd really like to see get into Centag if we have the room, which is more scenarios, because there's only the one scenario in the game. So perhaps bringing in a couple more scenarios that people can use as a sort of generic scenario instead of always using the same one.
So you've mentioned more NATO lists.
Yeah.
What about on the opposite side?
There'd be East Germans, Poles.
Yeah.
It may be a generic Warsaw Pact list that you then theme yourself through your choices.
Yeah.
Or they may be individual. It doesn't. I mean, it'll depend. Again, it's always the page count that's the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I'm desperate to have in it is Swedes, possibly Danes or Dutch, and Soviet naval infantry. Because I want an excuse to buy a 144th hovercraft and do a coastal landing.
Custom make it, Piers. Come on, scratch build it.
Trumpet to make one. I'll just buy the kit.
Do they?
Yeah. What? Yeah. I've been looking at it for ages. I just need an excuse. And the thought of that and doing
You're a sad man, Mr. Brown.
I am. Yeah. But the thought of doing a beach landing where you've got these great big landing craft and PT-76s coming ashore.
Jason,
yeah, you're right. I'm
3D
sad,
printed.
aren't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all those sorts of things that are what draw you to the period, and being able to do different stuff like that, and give people more options to and let Northag sort of grow out with Centag. And it's nice because those two books, hopefully, fingers crossed, will cover the Cold War period, and it's 2 books and done, and then the miniatures that go with it.
No. Third book.
Well,
Arab Israeli.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah. He wants
I'm
Arab
the
Israeli.
boss. I'm having it.
Well, I mean, the beauty of the system is it would work perfectly for Arab Israeli. Because
come on, Piers. Look, why don't you tell us your dirty secret about what you want for the modern?
I've always wanted to do the Iran-Iraq war. That's my little.
No, and the India-Pakistan.
Indo-Pakistan,
Pakistan,
that's another one. Yeah.
Well, that was what I was thinking of. You maybe say.
Indo-Pakistan, 1971. Yeah, but it's the fact you've
stop.
Yeah.
One meeting.
Yes.
Who doesn't want Chaffees
got time.
and Shermans and T-55s and PT-70s? Oh, it's just fabulous. But it's toys on table,
Fantastic.
It just means somebody's going to have to make sort of 10, 12 mil World War II stuff, so I can write books.
Well, I was going to say that. Yeah, we already know that there's going to be that crossover for Arab Israeli World War II kit. which Simon will talk about some of our other World War II plans that are bubbling along. So everything does mesh and synchronize.
Yeah. And I suppose the other point is we also have, as we've always put a lot of effort this year into Northag and promoting it, but there's also Battlegroup Pacific coming out as well.
Yeah, should we jump into that?
Which is up on pre-order at the moment.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was always wondering if it would sell, because Pacific is one of those.
You and me too.
Yeah, it's Far East. It's always that. It's a chicken and egg thing. Do people not play it because there's not the rules for it, or do they not play it because they don't like it? And I would never have been big on Pacific and Burma, but since we started it, I absolutely love it. It's big. It's the same when we started Desert War. I went, I don't really want to do Desert War. It's boring. And now I've got massive Desert War armies because Battlegroup works for it. And Pacific is the same. I've never had an interest in the Pacific War until we started it, and now I'm buying books on naval actions in the Pacific to read, and all this, how it's what Battlegroup does to you. It sends you off on these tangents to go and learn more. So Pacific is out for pre-order, and I'm pretty sure it's probably the fastest selling pre-order we've had, isn't it? I think it's
pretty much
well.
Yeah, it's done very well. As you say, I mean, being honest, it's done, sort of better than I thought. So yeah. That's good, and we'll try and put a few miniatures with it. Simon's running a nice 50mm Japanese project, which will be a fantastic ultracast box set and range. And then if that goes well, then we'll look at doing some other stuff for the Pacific Theatre. Jason just asked about 20mm vehicles.
20mm, yeah.
Now that again, that probably loops back to I'm not sure on the commercials doing it in hard plastic, but that might be something that
go on. You want a hard plastic LVT sprue.
Well, you say that. We've been tinkering and looking at the LVT, let's just say, and all the various options that go with. So we'll see without making any promises.
Yeah, but again, as always with Battlegroup, it's really captured the essence of both Burma and Pacific, because it's a 2-part book in a similar way that Tobruk was with Crete. In the mix with the Desert War, so you have lists for Burma and lists for the Pacific. So you've got U.S. Army, U.S. Marine Corps, Japanese island garrisons, and then you've got British Commonwealth lists, a little appendix list for using Australians, and again, it's so you've got 2 very different wars in one book, which is something nice. And it's the first book since Fall of the Reich that's changed the chit set. So this is another new chit set for Pacific.
Careful how you say that, Piers.
Yeah. So how's it different?
Teasing properly.
Yeah. So what'd you do differently on the chits?
Well, I'm Tom. Nice enunciated.
It was a very hard chit, yeah. There's a few little things in there. I won't give it away, but there is a Banzai chit. So you know what's going to happen with these sorts of things with us. A bit like in Northag, we have gas and a nuke symbol. There's it's not as always with Battlegroup. It's not a sort of be all and end all. There's a Banzai chit. Certain factors have to come into play, but the Japanese will have the ability to launch sort of suicidal Banzai charges in the game at certain points, and it's done really nicely. Warwick came out with a really good mechanic for it, and I think people are really. What I'm excited about this book is because it's made me excited about the Pacific War, which I haven't been before, and it's really got the flavour of it. I think, as all Battlegroup books tend to do, they tend to capture that essence and abstract it into a game where it feels right, which I know is a very woolly thing to say, but it's
That's true.
Really
yeah,
and it has that flavour, whether it's island hopping in the Pacific or whether it's Burma, and it's been so nice to cover Burma because whereas Pacific War is a niche, but guys in the States probably know a lot. There'd be a lot more that play it in the States. You play Pacific. Burma is really an unknown, apart from a niche within a niche almost. So it's nice to bring a bit of a spotlight to the 14th Army, the Forgotten Army, who once you start reading about them, are absolutely phenomenal.
It's a great. Actually, Slim was my favourite general in World War II for a long time, so I used to read a lot of them.
Yeah. And they were an absolutely phenomenal force. They really were. No, so it's lovely to sort of shine that spotlight on something a bit different.
For sure. I'll be doing some of it for sure down here. That's very good.
So I think Pacific. I think it's a risky one for PSC to have done, but I really hope they're going to be pleasantly surprised how it takes off.
I don't think so. And the 15 mil sculpts there. I mean, I've got the beginnings of those coming together. I think they're going to be lovely. So there'll be a nice set coming out. I think they'll be finished around Christmas in terms of the sculpting process. But we can do some really interesting things because the Ultracast is quite flexible. You could do some of the neat type things like the funky anti-tank units with the bombs on sticks and stuff.
Lung mines, and the flags and everything. I mean, it's such a, and it adds a bit of colour as well, which I always like. I do like my Japanese army because it has flags.
They were my first set of Airfix figures 40-odd years ago, so I think I have some sort of emotional attachment to them anyway.
I remember. Yeah. Which one had the pack course? Was that the Australians, the Anzacs had their little pack course?
Yeah, they had the little pack course.
The mule. Got
to be done. Yeah.
That one side charge at your home was amazing.
So we have, and we're actually covering the infantry division as well for once. So the US infantry in the Pacific get a list to themselves. So it's not all US Marines.
Someone's just asked, is this the only book we're doing, or are we going to be splitting out and doing something early Pacific?
Ooh, early Pacific, I think that will depend how this one goes. So if you want early Pacific, buy yourself 10 copies of this one. Because it's another niche. I personally, I'd love to do early Pacific. My big thing is China. I'd love to do a book on the Chinese war with the Japanese because it's so forgotten about. And it is so big and it lasts for so many years.
And you can imagine people are going to be crying out for Guadalcanal. I mean,
Guadalcanal. Yeah, I'll build a table if we do Guadalcanal. That's just fantastic. And Wake Island, I'd love to play Wake Island.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, but it's a niche, and it's the same with hard plastics. You've got to take that look of whether financially it's viable to do it. Because
but sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say because the books do take a long time to write.
True, but two little points to add to that. We've in recent times we've discovered the joys of digital printing, which and in the UK as well. So it's now making things a little bit more flexible and easy, and possibly things we might not have done prior to finding what we found in the UK now. I mean, it gives a bit more bandwidth. Yeah.
Yeah, and me and Will have talked about other sort of books like Early Pacific and things that might be more sort of themed and smaller ones, so that like scenario books or a book that follows, say, like 21st Panzer Division through the war. you know, there's lots of possibilities. There's obviously still some core books to come out for Battlegroup. I think the one that's been mentioned online is Stalingrad, which would be the 1942 Ostfront book to sort of sit between Barbarossa and Kursk to fill that gap. So yeah.
That thing again. If we say next year,
yeah, sometime next year,
maybe the year after.
Yeah, it all depends how things. Yeah, but the thing with Battlegroup books, it's not just the writing. There's the armies to produce for it. You know, we tend to do some terrain for it, and we play test it, which I know it sounds odd, but we actually will sit and play lots of games to make sure it works. I know it's old-fashioned, you know, and some companies don't bother. Games Workshop, but yeah, you know, we. I think the best way to say with Battlegroup books is it will be out when it's out. Yeah. It'll be done when it's done, because we'd rather. Same with the kits, we'd rather get it right. And
but some of these niche things. We've talked, you and I, Piers, about maybe they'll be sort of download only, so there's not a printer. Yeah. So from the check signing thing, that it would be easier to say yes, we could do that as a online PDF
Definitely,
download.
Yeah, I think that's something we need to look back at is PDFs, especially for smaller books and for like sort of campaign books, if you like, that are just sort of 10, 12 link scenarios and things like that. That would allow us something to put out between the sort of the core books, because as PSC get more and more busy, obviously it's a job fitting these big books into a schedule. So you kind of want little things to be able to come out just to let Battlegroup players know they've not been forgotten. You know, you can maybe put out a little PDF here and there.
So actually, kind of related to this, have you guys ever thought about doing anything with force builders? I mean, I know there's a bit of a community one that's out there, but you know, even doing something, you know, kind of officially on the PSC company website, so to speak.
It's something I've thought about. We've never really had the chance to sort of sort it out, because we've been waiting for the new PSC website to get up and running. Now it's something that probably we should go and look at. Personally, I'd love us to have a look at doing an app, where once you know, when you buy a book, you basically can get the army list for your app, and use that. You know,
someone's just asked about maybe using Kickstarter type funding to do niche projects, you know, pre-order or Kickstarter. So, and I say yes, that's something that we have looked at. We continue to look at. We might use that as well to get those niche things out there. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much stuff we'd love to do, you know, but it's time and money will always be the constraints on these things. But if Will can find a way to do it,
he'll find a way
to do it. Yeah, exactly. He'll find a way to put my nose to the grindstone.
You love it.
But yeah, I mean, I've got ideas for loads of stuff. I've always wanted to do a campaign book set on the British Canadian advance through Holland and into northern Germany, and Italy as well. I mean, I need to do a book on Italy and Monte Cassino. You know.
Yeah, we do. Yes, please.
You know, and even above and beyond that, I mean, there's certainly presenting, you know, putting together all the homework and then doing a guide and publishing it. But then, you know, there's also some environments where they've had like online sort of coordinated campaigns, and they've divvied out the games and say, okay, if anybody wants to play in this sector, you know, here's the specifics to do that. You know, here's the sector over here. Anybody want to take that? Have you ever thought about it?
Yeah. I think we have toyed with the idea. I mean, it's something we may go back to actually for when Centag comes out, is to do an online campaign. I'd love to look at something like that for Battlegroup as well, and I'd even love us to see if there's any sort of campaign rules we could do as a PDF download, because it's something we sort of have picked at between doing other things. I think that'd be a nice little PDF, a set of campaign rules for people to use. You know.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, the fun thing I find about that is that it tends to inspire people to paint, do more with their armies.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
get out and they're playing more games, and then after the campaign is done, then they move. You know, they keep playing.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what I like about the historical scenarios as well. I mean, I'll play points games, but I also love playing the historical scenarios that we often put in the books. And I find they're great for, you know, you look at the list of stuff you need and go, ooh, I need 2 more anti-tank guns, and it's great for getting you painting bits and pieces to add to your army, doing those sort of historical scenarios. So a nice little historical campaign pack, maybe. I don't know. Let's see what people.
Campaigns are my all-time favourite type of wargaming. I think it's give you a whole different perspective.
So
We're in the six-player one.
here's this next year slide. I don't know. I mean...
yeah. Well, you know, an ideal world.
Yeah. Move on.
Yeah.
don't show this for too long, right?
Yeah.
People might hold you to it.
Don't let me see the Stalingrad bit. Yeah.
This is really exciting. I mean, you know, between Stalingrad and doing Sente,
I think
for both of these rule sets.
I think those two books are absolutely. They're both bankers. Those two. It's just somebody has to build Stalingrad for the photographs.
Skip. I like. So I've just seen Mark B's.
I saw somebody on Facebook who's built one. I'll send you the message. You might be able to borrow it.
Ooh. I've just seen Mark B's comment about, so Jan the 1st then. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, yeah, whatever.
Come on, Piers. Chop.
Yeah. Can't be that hard to knock up a tractor factory, can it? Jesus. You can do me one in Ultra Car.
They're slacking it off to Jan's second, Will. I'll be kind. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Jason. He's given us a day. Thank you.
Really helped, it's good.
Very generous.
It's just a little less than 6 months away. I mean, this is doable, right?
No pressure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll be off now. I've got to start writing a book on Stalingrad.
All right, we just need to invent the 25th and 6th hours in the day, and everything will be fine.
10-day week. So moving on to Meg.
Let's talk about Meg.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me briefly introduce this. I'm a wargamer that does all periods, but probably most recently I've been known more for Ancients because I led a lot of competitions of Ancients, and I did Field of Glory for Osprey years ago. I was one of the key authors of that. And 3 years ago, I came up with a fairly innovative new set of rules called Meg, Malta Meg Glorium. And people ask me, why did you self-publish them? And my main answer tended to be because I really like purple. But apart from that, they went down very, very well.
I hadn't noticed that, so
yeah, I hadn't noticed that. No, I do like purple. It's a great colour. So I self-published the first set back in 2016, and with a view to testing just how good the new concept was. And they took off like wildfire amongst a dedicated group of people. And Will and I have been chatting for a while, so it's been lovely to team up and actually publish the compendium version, so the sort of updated version of Meg. I've lost the screen image. I don't know whether everybody else has.
Yeah, it seems to have gone. Yeah, Tom?
We'll get it back.
There we go.
Very good. So we now have the compendium version of Meg, which is a beautiful 240-page hardback rulebook, and the game comes in three sizes, so you can actually play the system with a small game called Pacto, which is about 20-25 bases a side. It's exactly what you're getting on the set of box of figures. And it's called Magda, which is a middle size, about 40 to 60 bases, and the full version Maximus, which is about 60 to 90 bases, depending on the army. And also we've come out with some really nice ways of dealing with the system I came up with, which is color-based. So we use colors to drive the command and control, colors of cards or discs, either of them. And what Will and the team have done superbly is they've created as disc sets and card sets. You can see them on the right, that are hard-punched, high quality, but they're matched precisely to the terrain maps we produce. So they disappear on the tabletop. So it's really rather lovely now when you see the games, makes them all rather beautiful. So it's got quite an innovative system driven by colors. It's got a lot of great feedback already, and it's just hitting the United States now. We were supposed to be launching it properly at Historicon. We did have a demo tournament back in 2018 with about half a dozen people who joined in then. and it's just hit the shops with, I think, on Military Matters and Noble Knight have just had all their stock land.
Yeah.
The similarity with BG, if there is one, is Piers used the word earlier and said, I know it sounds a bit washy and woolly to talk about feel, but actually as a rule creator, feel is the biggest thing I go off. And the purpose of the rules is all to get the feel right. So apart from the mechanisms being really good fun and fast moving and dynamic, the biggest compliment that's appealed to me is the players have come back and said, the armies feel right, the games feel right. There's a common quote that Romans feel like Romans and Huns feel like Huns. And that's not something as an ancient player I've felt for a lot of years, actually. There's a lot of things out there that squish a Roman down to something very simplistic. So it's really nice that that's come back. And in terms of army lists, the other thing we did is we gathered a great team of people years ago. I've been very fortunate to have some really enthusiasts dive in early, historical experts particularly. And we've now got 670 army lists for Meg.
That's impressive.
It's the biggest exercise in army lists probably ever, and they're all free online. Every single one of them. They're all free as a repository for players online at the website, which is a promise I made when I first did the rules, and that Will and I have managed to keep. So you can go on there and look up any army you like out of that entire period of history, put it together and play it. And it's got an Excel app, if you like, as an army builder. So you can do drop downs to build your armies, and they print out in pretty purple strand, as they would, of course. There you go.
Of course.
I won't go into the details of how the game plays. It's probably not the place. If people want to find out about that, then there's some videos online, or go to the Mortimer Glorian website. There's lots of materials out there, but it's a hoot. It's very, very enjoyable. And actually, you talked about campaigns. We're playing a 6-player Pacto campaign at the moment. It's on my Facebook page, War Games Campaigns. And it's proving great fun down here in South Africa. There's a whole bunch of players learning what it's like to fight a campaign rather than win a battle, which is very entertaining to observe. So it's been a hoot. So do join in. Give it a try is all I would say. If you give it a try, then you'll probably like it. Nearly universally has.
Yes, I'd add to that. I mean, if you're an Ancients player and haven't tried Meg, then I would say try it. I like my Ancients, and as Si says, it hits that sweet spot. I'm too thick to play anything too complicated, so this has just got the right crunch to it, and it's
the moment when the rules pass the test.
Yes. If Will can play it, it's
anyone
a winner.
Can.
Exactly. It has custom dice.
It's actually one of the. I suppose one of the fun things that's been fed back to me, and it is true, is it's a very easy game to learn, very hard game to master. But you can play it, and it's a lot of fun to play if you just get going. And actually, just as a little demo of that, we do play quite a lot of competitions. I play quite a lot of competitions, even though my biggest interest is campaigns and historical reenactments. And we had twice in the history of the game people turn up to a competition never having played at all, not once, not even done one game. They actually learn to play.
I think having a game with the feel of it is, I'd say anybody that doesn't like Ancients should try it, because that's the difference with Meg, is that it feels like the period, which to me, I've been wargaming nearly as long as Simon has. Ancients has always been so bland, and there's never that feel. And so if you don't like Ancients, play Meg and try it, because it's not DBA or those sorts of things. It has the feel to it, and
it's colourful,
and that is the key. Exactly.
I was going to say, yes, that was my part too. What I say was exactly what Piers said, was if you don't like Ancients or haven't played Ancients, it's also worth trying. Try it.
And actually, if you want to try it with no figures, we've done a neat trick. In the back of the book, there are 3 ready printed armies. And and the high-res ones are on the website to download. So you can literally download a Pacto army printout, print them all out, stick them on some MDF bases, and you can play the game. You don't need to even invest in the figures yet. But once you see
and then you buy the figures,
stage, and then you buy loads and loads and loads of figures because they're so nice that you have no time to buy loads and loads of figures. So this is what we have out now already, that've been out for a while, long enough for a few people to have painted some up. So these had actually very few mold lines on. People asked about them. The ones on the left done by a friend of mine, he said there were 2 on shields. He scraped them off with his nail. He didn't need anything else. That was the total prep time for the whole pack. And these are them. They're 50mm scale. Those are them painted up. And honestly, I have the Metal Masters, and those are more detailed than I get from Metals. It's quite something. They're absolutely spectacular. And on the right of the Goths, again, straight out of the pack, painted up and based in 15mm. And each of those box sets will give you a ready-made Pacto army, so you're ready to go to play the smaller scale of the game, which plays on a 3x2 mat in 15mm.
Yeah. And they're pricing at around $45 for a Pacto army box, and that's all you need in there. So I think for the Roman army, there's about 30 horse and about 50 or 60 foot, so you're getting bang for your buck with these starter armies, and then you can buy unit pouches to fill in and to add and to build on your Pacto starter army. Now, I also have to jump in and add that as well as doing a deal with Simon to master or to take his Lurkio masters and to put those into ultracast plastic, we've done a deal with Corvus Belli to bring back their lovely 15mm ancients and medieval 15mm ranges that have been out of the marketplace for a few years now, and they are gorgeous. And we've done a deal with Corvus Belli to produce those in ultracast. We have the license to produce them in ultracast and metal, but for the moment we're just going to be launching them in ultracast. We've also done a deal with Scotia Grendel, who own Zeiston, so we're going to produce all the Zeiston, all the lovely Zeiston ranges in ultracast. So between Lurkio, Corvus Belli and Zeiston, we've got a lot of the ancient and medieval world covered already. Thank you very much. So we're just launching this month. We're launching in fact this weekend. We're launching the first two Corvus Belli, the Imperial Romans and the Gauls. So we've got starter sets for those two, and they'll be on retail release from next weekend, and they'll be over in the States. We're hoping sort of mid-August, and then we're going to crack into the first two Zeiston, which will be Greeks and Persians, and we're hoping for probably September, October release for those. So we're going to have a nice rolling program, and I think Si and Dan in the office have been talking about it. I think after these the Corvus Belli Romans and Gauls and the first two Zeiston, I think the next two Corvus Belli we're going to be cracking into the medievals. Si, is that correct? The well-loved and well-missed medieval Corvus Belli.
We're going to do Nicephorian Byzantine, so it's sort of Dark Ages, awesome. Early medieval. They'll be based on the Lurkio ones. And then we're going to do the 100 Years' War English medievals to go up against them. And we're going to try and do a rolling cycle of about a box set per month on average for quite a long time. And actually, I suppose that's part of the reason Will's always hedging a bit on what we can do, because actually there's more to do than there is people and machinery to do it.
Yep.
So I suppose it's a good problem to have, but that's actually the block. That's the time limit, really. We've so many between them and so many great figures we can bring out. It's just a matter of pressing on with as much as we can with the people and the technology that's available. Trust us, it's going to be pretty busy and pretty full all the way through the time going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
I just had a couple of other things on the figures. Will mentioned about $45. I think that's about right, £35. Just as a guide, if you bought it in the Lurkio metals, it would be about $110, I think, if I costed it up as Lurkio metals. So these are a substantial bargain versus metal, and in some ways, given they're lighter, don't break, paint up so easily, indestructible, you could argue they're actually better. So they are fantastic. What you can get an entire playable army for $45.
Yeah. So about how many figures in a box?
There's generally 4 sprues, and a sprue will vary. A cast sprue will vary, typically 24 infantry to 32 infantry, depending on how we get it laid out. Yeah. And you might 16 to 24 cavalry in there. So on average, they're probably running at about 120 pieces in classic wargaming terms in a box. So you've plenty to go at. The late Imperial Roman army gets you 7 tugs of legionaries, 2 of cavalry, 1 of cataphract, I think 2 of light infantry archers and 2 of light cavalry archers, all straight out of a box. So you've actually got the army. If anybody wants to see it, if you go on YouTube on my channel, you'll see a Meg game played with the Sassanids and the Romans painted up. Those 2 armies painted up. Oh, and the elephants do look rather good.
The elephants are lovely.
Yeah, they're lovely.
They really are nice.
And I think if you scroll down, you've got, so yes, the early Imperial.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
We'll cover these. We will cover these, and we don't need to go them further. There's a few of the test molds sort of sitting underneath, but obviously you'll see them better when they're painted. But the Corvus Belli castings are perfect, actually, for Ultracast. They really come out lovely. So,
I don't do 50mm ancients, and I want an army of those.
Yet.
I think Mark B's also said the same thing. We're coaxing an ancient into ancients. Good.
They are really
worth a try, Mark.
Yeah, I also bought some Crimsons last week, so there you go. You've got me as well. So it's coming round in every direction. The enthusiasm doesn't stop. And just to add to this, in addition to these, if you put the whole list, we've about another 20 that we can do. So we're busy for a few years. You know, there's going to be 50mm ancients for a few years coming out on a pretty regular schedule. So yeah, should be a lot of fun. Next year at Historicon, given we delayed launching this year, we'll definitely have 2 events at Historicon as well. We'll have a mainstream competition, and I'll be there, and I'll be doing a sort of boot camp event for people to come along and bring their Pack 2 armies, and I'll teach people to play, and we'll make that a more of a fun gathering of players just to doodle around and slaughter each other fully, which is something that tends to happen quite a lot in Meg. It's a fairly bloody game, by the way. There are certain games you've played where it's all there's so much finesse, your army looks perfectly polished at the end as if it hasn't been damaged. You don't tend to get that in this. You tend to have a decent pile of bodies on both sides, whether you like it or not. So that's
which is why I love it.
Part of the fun. Just kicking forward from that, the color system that I created, it actually works for every period. It needs adapting in a different way, as Piers went back about the feel, a bit like Battlegroup, which we actually play down here. It's our favourite World War II set down in the Cape. So we play a lot of Battlegroup here. Northag is similar but different. I mean, it's got its own feel because they've tweaked some things. The same thing with the colour system, used for command and control and for damage. I can spin it to any period. So actually I've got rule sets on the go for all the major periods of history using the colour system. And the beauty of it is that once you've learned to play one game, you've got 70% of the concept in your head for the one of another period. So it will eventually be a suite of games. So we'll have talked about bringing out an entire suite of games. So the next one that comes out, if you flick down just to talk about, which is we're going to get out around Christmas, is Divisions of Steel. Divisions of Steel is the color-based World War II system. If you like Battleground, you own Battleground, get this as well. Or if you people who like this, we'll get to have Battleground, because actually because they both sit very sensibly together, because they sort of overlap like this rather than like this. This game is set up to be 2 companies aside plus, and the demo game in the actual book is a battalion level battle. It plays really well with 15, 10, and 6, but it's not really for the higher scales. It's more for those 3 scales. I particularly love 10 as a scale, and we are doing some Division of Steel 10mm models this year. So you'll get your first Ultracast 10mm World War II coming out this year. I think we've got a Panther, Panzer IV, and a Stug coming out on the German side, and we've got a Sherman and a Firefly on the British side, which lets you play.
And a Cromwell as well side with
Cromwell as well. Okay.
James is getting a Cromwell and a 251D done very quickly, because we've got all the CAD data there. So you can play a game on a 6x4. The style of my rules starts from feel, so it goes back to that. The key thing I want to get is feel, so it feels really good as a World War II game of that scale. Because I'm an experienced competition player, I then go through a tightening process to turn them into competition rules as well. So Meg is fundamentally not originated as a competition rule set. It's a historical representation rule set. And we actually tend to mix and match massive games of 6 players aside of Meg and Hail Caesar down here. Tend to be the mix that we do with the 28mm and 18-foot long tables. So this is what we tend to do here, which is great fun. But they're all then tightened for competition use as well. So Divisions of Steel will be the same. It'll be mainly there as a reenactment game and a fun, fast-moving World War II game, but tightened to allow competition play as well. The shot at the top right is a little extract of our
10-foot by 10-foot 15mm Battle of Roré, which is in the rules. It's based on a book called Breaking the Panzers, which came out. It's about the first Tyneside Scottish had the misfortune to take over a line near Roré, near Caen, on the evening of June the 30th, 1944. First time in the area, and then they were hit by 9th SS and 12th SS the next morning. So they had a pretty rough introduction. It's a fantastic book because it gives you the battle every hour. Every chapter is an hour through the day. So we've adapted the rules and played it out in now in 15 and 6, and we'll be playing it out in 10 shortly. The other thing to add to it is it's a joint exercise between myself and Mark Bevis. I don't know if that's a name many people know, but it's the chap who does Micromart lists. There are thousands of lists on World War II, modern, Napoleonic, on the War Games Vault. Mark and I actually are school friends. We played our first World War II war game using tank battles in miniature when we were 12 on his doorstep, using rocks for terrain, and I think Russians against Italians. There you go. But hey, you've got to get going somehow. So we won 300 heroics and Ross. So he's a real guru of the World War II era. So we put our heads together on this. So I think everybody who plays them will find they've got a certain realism to them that will appeal to people who've read a lot about World War II and like the feel of World War II gaming. So that should be out around Christmas. It's pretty well developed. It's in final testing. Anybody fancies have a go, then you can pop me a message. I can get you in some of the testing events if you like. So I've just noticed. I've got the chat here. I can see somebody's asked, will the Micromart list be compatible? Mark's creating the same idea of single page, double-side A4 list specifically designed for Divisions of Steel to go with the list. So they derive from the quality of the Micromart ones, but they'll be automatically adapted to Divisions of Steel. So just pick that one up for you.
Wonderful.
So all fun, lots of fun. All these things that we can do because of this ultracast technology. It's very good.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
And oh, sorry, you keep going with your stuff. I was going to ask something.
Can I roll on for a bit longer? Yeah,
I'll do that later. Go on.
You can do later. Okay, I'll do a quick whiz.
Keep going.
The colour system continues. The Renaissance version, called Reissue Glorium, probably no surprise there, is pretty much finished. It's written by myself and Alistair Harley, who's a big Renaissance player. It's been tested out pretty thoroughly. It's in final tweaks. Probably Easter next year. It's one of those that depends a little more on the scheduling. It's obviously not as big a period as World War II or Napoleonics, but we'll try and get it out there in the early to mid part of next year. The one at the bottom right, by the way, is a huge battle we did of the Siege of Malta down here. And that was an 18-foot long table with a 1.8 meter long custom built fort. So some of the people down here in Cape Town are quite fanatical as modelers. So I have the benefit of all these people doing some lovely work. So that's the Ottomans storming the breach in the Siege of Malta. So it's quite fun. It's going to feature in one of the War Games mags in a couple of months' time, I think, as a writer. So
yes.
People might catch that there.
Fantastic.
And there's more. Keep going. We can keep going a little bit further.
Yeah.
To the next page. It doesn't even stop there. So one of my all-time favorite periods of history. So the Napoleonic rules are out there in testing and playing very nicely. So they also will be out in 2021. They are set up to play fairly big battles. On the right is the Battle of Qatar, played in 15mm on a 6x4, which is what can do. So you've got the boss on wood at the bottom with all the French trying to work their way through. And in the centre, you've got the French advance and the Brunswickers, and the long line up the left-hand side is the long line of the British divisions that have arrived partway through the game as reinforcements and turned to flank a forward line. So that played out very, very nicely as a test game. So the idea is you can play a core battle in an evening, and you can play Waterloo in a day on a slightly bigger battlefield than that, probably on a table tennis table. Also should be out in the course of next year around the summer. Any great Napoleonic fans who fancy joining in and testing, again, drop me a line. You're welcome to join in a bit. And then if you flick forward, I've just had one last bit from me. We're also doing some little interesting bits for all rule sets that Dan and I have discovered. We've got quite good at printing battle mats on the mouse mat material, which lies beautifully. So we do 6x4 double-sided, and we do 3x2 mats for those. So as an extension of those, we're going to do some pre-printed terrain mats, which are 3x2s, where we can actually create 9, 10 pieces of terrain on a single sheet. So it's a very economical way to create easy to carry terrain for all the games. You can use, it doesn't have to be the ancient game, it could be any game. So those are in progress, so we'll be testing those out shortly. And the other thing on the other side is, obviously these don't sell in huge quantities, but making the games look beautiful is really rather lovely. So we have some exclusive print-on-demand playmats we're working on. And this one is actually one that would be ideal for Northag, actually. It's a North German actual map, done to scale with all the fields and the woods for an area up near Hanover, in the gap around Hanover. So I'm in the process of getting one of these printed up to send to you, Piers, so you can have it as a backdrop for some fun games. Yeah?
Looks brilliant.
So we are preparing some of those, and we're going to do one for each of the battles featured in the rules. So the Rore battle is an 8x8. There's going to be 2 8x4s you can put together, and you can play out the actual battle with the terrain artistically created that way. Pricing yet to be finalised. Obviously, won't be cheap. Will be done on demand, but very special. So be a lovely feature to use at demonstrations, and I'm sure some people out there would just love to have them because they'll just make for a majestic looking battlefield.
Yeah, very nice.
So lots going on. Lots of interesting digital printing technology being played with, and lots coming up.
Can I, 2 quick things from me, because I'm conscious we've got 4 minutes left and there might be some questions, but
yes,
two very quick things from me. Firstly, just to, if you like, reassure or to make it very, very clear to everyone that there's a lot of good stuff coming out. We've got some very exciting new projects, but they will be moving forward in conjunction with World War II, our 15, 20mm Northag battle group stuff that has been our core business for 11 years. So these new ranges, new things are alongside what we have. So we will be building every rule system, every range will be moving forward. Now, Si and I have been talking about how we can increase our output, because we'll need to with everything we've got planned and the way things are selling as well. So, which is great. It's a nice problem to have. So we just want to reassure everyone that every range, every rule system will be supported and will be moving forward.
And Will, if people badger you enough, can we do a 10mm version of Battlegroup as well, like Northag?
Well, you know me.
That could be fantastic. And on the time, guys, actually we can go over. Mitch did let me know that we do have the room for a little bit longer, so it's okay. We don't have a hard cutoff.
10mm Battlegroup would be awesome.
It would.
Yes.
And it's funny because I think probably those of you who have played Battlegroup or even Northag, if you've started out and played it in a larger scale and then tried it in a smaller scale, just how amazingly different the map feels when you have so much more room to roam and tactically maneuver and come at the battle differently. I think
really the lovely thing that PSC will have in the future with all the different sets of rules is that you'll be able to have one army, say like a 10mm World War II army, and then you can play big sort of company battalion level games using divisions of steel. And then if we did do Battlegroup, then you could have more like your sort of Northag large platoon battles going on as well, but still using the same army.
Yeah.
Which ticks the best of both worlds. So you can buy the rules but you still only need the one army to play them all. How cool would that be?
Yes. I mean, it's not a. This is the rule system. You have to play with a certain scale, and we are producing miniatures ranges to go with all of our rule sets. But we're trying to be a little bit more broad in our church. You can play these rule sets with any scale. Our preferred scale, we think the Goldilocks scale. The Goldilocks is this range, this scale, but you can use whatever scale you want, whatever you want.
All right, so just threw out a thing in the chat just to see if anybody's got any more questions and see what anybody comes up with. If not, we can banter on.
When is the PSC credit card coming out? That's the best one yet.
I quite like that one.
Yeah. Will's a bit of a cash guy, actually. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only because I'm not allowed a credit card.
Yeah.
A barter system. Yeah.
Yes.
That could work.
Any other questions from people?
Yeah. So, why is UltraCast a proprietary process?
That's a very interesting question. No. It is. It's a tech system that we've invested in from a third party. Oh, and that's another interesting question. But just to finish that one, and it's not been developed by us. We are taking it and doing our own tweaks to it, but it is it's not a proprietary system. Someone's asked about ACW, and the answer is yes. There, Si might want to add a bit on that.
That's my final set of major period, if you like, rules. So that's also on the go with the color system set. Not sure which scale figures we put with it at this stage. It's a little too early to tell. Got to get through all these other major periods first. So if you forgive me doing World War II, Renaissance, and Napoleonics, then yep, we will definitely get to it there.
Yeah, hurry up, Simon. Hurry up. God's sake.
I know, I'm doing my best. Hang on, I can't stay any longer. I've got to go draft something.
As Mark B says, when does Simon sleep? He doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
He's a cyborg.
Not often enough. I have the fortune that I moved to Cape Town 3 years ago to get away from the rat race and stopped my mainstream job. So I have decided to dedicate quite a lot of my normal work time to wargaming because it's been my hobby for so long. I thought, damn it, I only live once. I'm going to enjoy getting all these creations I've come up with down on paper and hope people enjoy them. So I actually do this pretty much full time, 3 full days a week. So I have quite a bit of time, and I also sneak the test games in outside that. That's the story for Mrs. Hall, but I get to play outside that time.
Sorry, there were 2 questions or 3 questions before that I've kind of lost what they were. Does someone want to? I think someone was asking about a World War II version of Meg. Was one of them, and I missed the other 2. I'm sorry, guys, that we moved on. Do you want to repeat?
It was a World War One release for Meg.
Oh, was it World War One? Sorry, my eyes are.
Although I would even tack onto that. How about World War One for Battlegroup? I think that's another interesting thing to explore.
Piers, we have talked about this.
We have, yeah. I World War One Battlegroup, yeah. That's a big yes from me. Yes, please. Yeah. I do a 1914 and a 1918.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, please.
I think I go with that too. Someone was asking about that book that you'd mentioned, the Rari.
Rory, yes.
Breaking the Panzers, it's called.
Breaking the Panzers. Yeah. I don't think I've quite got it down, but look it up. Yeah, Breaking the Panzers. It's a very, very good read. It's one of those rare things that gives you sort of a minute. I mean, literally, it gives you the introductory bit about the campaign for a tiny bit, and then there's a chapter every hour of what was going on from the real people's accounts.
I bet a large sum of money it's on Piers' bookshop.
I was just going to say it's somewhere there.
Somewhere in there, isn't it?
One of them down.
Read. It really is.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah, someone just.
Kevin Baverstock. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So
We want the Winter British.
Well, someone said Winter British. Yes.
Winter British. Oh, sure, that's possible. Look at that. One left in stock, apparently, of the book. I think it must have just gone in the last 20 seconds. There you go.
low price.
Very good book. Very good book.
Yeah. And World War One for the color system is the natural evolution. Once I've done American Civil War and I've got World War II, we sort of creep in between with the colonial and the World War One period, sort of naturally fall into place. So I'm unlikely to stop doing them. It's just a matter, I think, of filling in the blanks once you've got the core bits in place, and then deciding whether you PDF them or not, depending on what you think the volume is. So
the other thing that's always asked for Battlegroup, apart from you've had World War One has been asked a good few times, is Spanish Civil War and Korean War are the other 2.
Yes.
Sort of other periods that people have asked about. Yeah, Korean War I'd love to do, but it comes back to that whole niche thing of where you put your time and your effort for the returns. But
Yeah.
Someone was asking about 20mm stuff, World War II 20mm stuff for this year. Yes, we've got a couple of things bubbling. The release schedule is should we say, a bit fluid, but we do have some rather nice German motorbikes, sidecars and Kettengrads.
Bit more than rather nice.
Yeah, Piers had quite a say in the design of it, didn't you?
We did. Me and they're really
Naismith, wasn't it? But
yeah,
and we've also got we've actually got a 17-pounder all sat ready and waiting. Now, so it's all very fluid, and we're extremely busy on other stuff. They might possibly at some point, I'm not going to say when, but they might be some ultracast tests. I was saying about certain things might be good in ultracast in the slightly larger scales, but we have plenty of other stuff to be doing, unfortunately. So that's fluid. On the hard plastic front, again, fluid, but a couple of things that we all need lots of in terms of soft skins. Russian and US.
Yeah, we've talked trucks.
Yes, let's say the two Russian probably number one, but also I think US soft skins. The Studebakers and I like the what they call those things, the beeps. Yeah, the Dodge. What do you call them? Weapons carriers,
WC5s. Yeah.
Yes, I've been quite keen on those. I think that they're something to do. So stand by. There will be some 20mm loveliness.
Anything BAF.
Say again?
I think that was anything from BAF.
Oh right. Okay. Yes. We've been threatening a A10 for a long time. Because we got the A9, we did an A9 A10 50mm kit where we got both on the sprue, and then we realised it was too much to do for 172. So we did the A9, and then the A10 sort of got parked for the moment, but it's sat there waiting for a slot. So you might see a hard plastic A10 because it's there ready.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then there was a question about East Front Italians and Battlegroup.
They'll be in Stalingrad. They're going in the Stalingrad book. So the Stalingrad book will be the filler for 1942. So it won't just be Stalingrad. It'll have,
okay. Yeah. So it'll be Romanians, Italians,
everybody. As we can cram them in. The other book that was toyed with is a winter war book, Russians and Finns. Which is something else that people have asked for. So much to do.
We've also. Sorry, Si.
Just we're doing book building, but also on the Meg side, on the ancient side, we've got a nice process starting at where certain enthusiasts who've been part of the team are doing a series called Age of XXX, Age of a Certain General. So the first of those, which is Age of Attila. And actually a couple of weeks' time, which is looking really lovely, actually, by Richard Jeffrey Cook, who's the Society of Ancients treasurer, and it works all the way through Attila's campaigns and the Romans of the time and how they evolved, and gives you some ready-made campaigns and some ready-made battles to fight from that particular era. And I've already got in the back office, but not fully agreed yet, but four other enthusiasts who are interested in doing various others. So I've got somebody who wants to do Caesar, somebody who wants to do the Age of Pyrrhus, somebody wants to do the Age of William the Conqueror. So we're actually mobilizing quite an interesting group of enthusiasts to actually build some of those things, and that's one way we can sort of get greater reach.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
So I was just was going to say, we've also toyed with, going back to the World War II stuff, of doing a 1944 bag rations, so that we've got a book for every year of the Eastern Front, which is quite kind of neat. For the Reich is obviously covering both bits. I
45,
suppose.
yeah. Bagration was the 44 book for Ostfront. I think there was West Wall was the other one that was on the list, wasn't it? Which was the sort of final book for the Western Front, just to put in between that period of Normandy and Fall of the Reich. So, and Italy.
Yes. See. See. Any more softbacks? Yes. In terms of some of these books going forward, some will be softback, some will be the larger stuff will probably be hardback. So it'll be a combination of softbacks and hardbacks. And then, as we were saying, that if it doesn't fit into the volumes, then we'll look at some niche download stuff.
I think there'll definitely hopefully be more things along the lines of Fact am Rhein and Market Garden, those sort of fillers that are, as we call them, the little campaign supplements. Yeah, loads of ideas for those. And something for maybe even going back and looking at older books like Blitzkrieg when that gets reprinted. Maybe we'll have a look at maybe a PDF, VF PDF campaign or something like that for people to buy, as well as once the reprint comes out. You know, we could do something like that.
Yeah. Budapest. Yes, that would be an interesting one.
Well, Fortress Budapest, yeah, I'm working on that at the moment, but I'm not telling anybody I'm working on that.
We didn't hear it.
Just in this room.
It's not there.
Actually, one other question for North Egg that I hear from time to time is, you remember how you guys did cards?
Yeah, data
cards.
Yeah, I think you might do some data cards for North Egg.
Yes, in a word. Someone approached me, actually, Piers. I haven't told you about it. So
no, he came to me as well. It's grand.
Yeah. Did he? Oh, well, you'll know who it is then. So the answer is yes. When we have time to get around to it, we'll do, because they work really well. They're a nice little add-on.
And we probably look at doing an Italian pack as well, so people don't have to chop up their Tobruk and Tunisia books, because a few people have asked if we do a separate Italian one, so they don't have to take the ones out of the book. So
yeah.
Once sort of something comes out for Stalingrad, you'll probably find a full Italian one, you know, rather than doing a part one. It'll be once Stalingrad's out and the other vehicles are in, then a whole set of data cards can come along, because they'll all be done, and, you know, kind of a nice little package for the whole lot then.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
At least nobody's asked if we're doing Vietnam.
Shh. Don't stir them. don't poke the beast.
No, exactly. Yeah, leave that well alone.
Yeah. We know about
1968. Do you mean the year I was born?
Right. Yeah.
Terrible,
yes.
yeah.
I think, I can't see anything we haven't covered there. I
think you have answered it all.
Yeah, how about that?
Fantastic. Well, I hope that's given everyone an insight into the madness that's Plastic Soldier Company, and all the exciting things we've got planned on all fronts. So yes, we hope you continue to enjoy the stuff that we produce, and thank you for having us on. It's been great fun. I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you for having us. You know, I'd rather that we were actually over there and you know, we were doing stuff. But next year we'll see you all in person, hopefully.
Yeah. So my deepest thanks to you, Simon, to you, Piers, to you, Will. Thanks for being here. And yeah, you're
Pleasure.
right.
Thanks for organizing.
Yeah, thank you for having us on, Tom. Pleasure.
Yeah.
Next year we'll all be in person.
We'll
Thanks,
see you
Jason.
there. We'll see you next year.
Bye.
Fantastic.
So
Thanks, guys.
thanks, guys.
Cheers all.
Bye, everyone. Bye now. Bye.